there's a message here for you. Tell Trini Farmer I'm always on his page. I'm a big fan. Well done, bro. He didn't send his name, so Chris, you have fans.
Yeah, I have a lot of fans. Every day I get a new message from someone new. So I would say about 10 to 100 messages sometime new is becoming in. And I try to help as much people as I can, you know?
So the phone lines are 625-2257 or 627-3223, or you can send us a WhatsApp at 306-1065. Again, 625-2257 or 627-3223, or you can WhatsApp us at 306-1065. Chris, now with constant inflationary pressures, how has it been impacting farmers in your sector?
That's a good question. Are we talking more about like food prices or the price of gas? Well, it will be everything because everything has been going up.
Price of your inputs, prices of your raw materials going in.
Okay, so someone like me, now I've grown my business over the years, so I always buy wholesale now. So I try to always get I watch every dollar in terms of like what are the inputs in. I try to always keep the cost down to less than $1 per crop. Sometimes it might go more than that, sometimes it will go less than that. But it all comes down to making wise decisions in your business. If you're trying to do business as a start, now everybody tends to do this. They start retail, like they buy everything retail. They want to test it first to see if it works, and then after, once they get confirmation, then they'll go bigger, right? Currently, I will speak for myself in terms of my business. The cost of everything, some stuff has gone up, like seed cost has gone up a little bit. Fertilizer cost has gone down actually. What else? Machinery. I don't use a lot of machinery, but those have stayed like relatively the same price over the years, like whackers and all these different things and spray cans. Those different things have stayed relatively the same price, so that isn't affected by anything. The sale of goods, however, in terms of like when we selling, now it will have periods in a year where it will be, prices will jump up, like for Christmas time and sometimes, before Carnival and everything like that, prices tend to go up, especially during rainy season, prices tend to go up as well. Other than that, prices are relatively low for stuff like when the consumer is buying, so it's affordable for the consumer. I would say, at least, I would say that. I don't know if people might disagree with me because I mean it's always tend to be sometime like whichever season we are in, that is when you will see the prices of goods actually going up, and that is pretty much it for local. I would say for commercial, like if it's imports, it's a whole different story. And in terms of inputs for myself, I would say it's relatively been the same, or it's probably gone up by a little bit. No, not that much, but like I say, I buy wholesale, so I try to get everything cheaper or on a deal. I try not to spend a lot. I try to actually get everything at a deal all the time, and I encourage that for everybody else as well.
So, is there anything about hydroponics that really shocked you when it got started? Maybe it's how fast you saw things growing, or maybe it's how much more yields, or maybe it was less waste, or something that shocked you.
Right. So with hydroponics, it grows way faster, like way faster. Cost of input is way less if you look at it from an operations perspective. And yeah, I was just shocked by the growth of it actually. Is the speed. Like, and in business, it's all about speed, right? But hydroponics tend to grow a lot faster, a lot healthier as well. Like the plants are a lot stronger, I would personally say. If it's like the NFT systems, just saying, right? It's a whole different perspective, right? But with my system particularly, I just find everything grows a lot healthier and faster. That's pretty much it. That is something that piqued my interest. It costs less, it grows faster. It is everything line up perfectly for success if you think about it like that. Because once you can do it over again and again, you make a lot of profit in the long term. If you think about it from that perspective.
You know, commonly I see people growing things like
Mm. Lettuce.
lettuce and
Mm-hmm.
seasonings and so, but maybe kale. But
Yep.
what are some of the other things that people could grow using a method like this?
You could grow almost anything, to be honest. Like, there isn't a crop that I haven't tried to grow hydroponically using the drip to waste method, right? Which is the cocoa peat and perlite. I haven't seen anything that I cannot grow. Like, you can grow almost anything once you have the understanding of what, like, how big the plant could get. Like, if it's a tree, like a fruit tree, obviously that needs to go in the ground, right? If it's like a medium-sized crop, let's just, for example, say peppers, hot peppers, for example, right? I would use a grow bag system for that. But it's the same drip irrigation method I will go with, where it delivers the hydroponic fertilizer to the hot peppers, right? And you will get actually real good production or even better production, to believe it, right? Like, believe it or not, you could get better production because I have grown some peppers like this already. Right now, we're trying pimento peppers. You get very, very nice production with a drip to waste hydroponic system, right? I think it's mainly because of the fertilizer, and because it's not soil, it's more like cocoa coir, which is like coconut husk really shredded up in such a way that it gives the plant something to hold on to. It just works. It just works perfectly. Like, so I would say there's no limitation to what you can grow. If you can design it, you can grow anything if you put your mind to it. Because we have grown dragon fruit plants with it. We have grown like trees, like not big trees but small trees. We have grown leafy greens like lettuce, kale. The only thing I haven't tried is probably corn, but I think corn could probably grow if you set it up in a certain way as well. Corn could probably grow. um but yeah, there's a variety of, like, the I don't think there's any limitation. The only limitation will be how big the plant is. Like, if it's really large, like a fruit tree, I would say the best thing would be the ground. But other than that, you can grow almost anything.
Here's the question.
Sure.
If you were to give somebody a taste test,
Mm-hmm.
blindfolded, between something that was grown in the ground and something that was done hydroponically, is there a difference?
um hmm I want to say yes, but it could be no as well, because uh, I think the only way we could really answer this is if we test it and see, if people actually notice the difference. Now, my aunt always tells me she find the one I grow is always tastes better, but that could be a bias answer, right? So I don't want to say yes and I don't want to say no, because I've seen seasoning that have grown in the ground and I've seen seasoning that have grown hydroponically. Some people said the ones in the ground tend to be stronger, and then some people have also said the ones in the hydroponic system is be stronger. So to answer that, I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell, like, which one is better or not, right? I I think we really have to test this theory to see if if it's true or not, like it has a different taste or not, and then we will know. Because some of the processors locally that do seasoning, right? I supply them, and tend to use both hydroponically grown stuff and also like from Paramin as well. So, and I don't think the consumer really tells the difference because it's a bottled product, right? When you put all that combination of different stuff together and they sell it, it's just they sell a formula, so you don't really get a difference in taste. So I can't say it will be better or worse.
I would say that I agree with you because sometimes we have side in the hydroponic and I've had people say that this is such a strong taste, and then the hard question. And if it's a hard question, then I feel like there's no clear answer.
Yeah, it's difficult. That one is a bit difficult.
Now, hydroponics, it feels modern, right? And it's like farming and engineering blended into one. You feel hydroponic is something that's attracting more young people into the field?
Yes, definitely. I would say 100% that is facts, because all the youths I'm seeing that's coming up, um, if their father or uncle or somebody in their neighborhood isn't doing like ground farming or large scale farming, for example, like they tend to, but they like agriculture for some reason, like they went to school and everything like that, and they get intrigued by seeing it online. They tend to go that route of hydroponics because it's easier to manage, especially for somebody young. Like for me, for example, right? I don't like to bend my back a lot, right? So, I mean, when you do ground farming, you realize, wait, you're bending your back a lot, right? I want to protect my back as long as possible for the long term. So, I don't want to do that too much. So, I would go this route with the hydroponic route. So, I do that less. So, I just look at something that I don't want to do and something that I want to do. And honestly, I like the idea of automation. Like, this hydroponic system provides that. It provides automation. I don't have to be on it every day. When we used to do in-ground farming, you have to go and water that crop every morning, right? Because of the size and volume, there was not a pump that could automatically water this capacity of crops, right? Versus with the hydroponics, you can set this on autopilot. You don't need to be there physically all the time. Once you set it up properly, yes, there will be times you have to troubleshoot. Yes, something could go wrong, but it still leaves that automation there, that that ease of mind, that peace of mind, basically, that I set this up here, I could go and do something else with my time. If I come to do work, go ahead.
I think we have a question coming in.
Actually, it's more of a comment, mixed question. Listening to your program, my experience with lettuce grown using hydroponics, quote unquote, melts within 2 to 3 days in the fridge. These are bought at supermarkets. However, lettuce bought at the local markets from home gardeners last for about 3 to 4 weeks. Many others I spoke to on this subject have a similar experience. I always wash my lettuce and store in plastic containers, but I still find it melts and becomes limp. I spin dry lettuce to remove excess water before storing. How you spin dry lettuce?
You know, the little tubs that you put it in and you spin it with your hand or you press it on it.
So we don't shake the lettuce?
No.
A little plastic thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I know understand what you're saying.
All right. So to answer that comment or question, right? I could clearly state what could be that potential problem that that person is facing, or basically what they have experienced. So, what causes melting in lettuce? If it's 2 to 3 days, then something is terribly wrong there. Either the harvest period, from the time it was harvested to the time it was delivered into the grocery shelf, could have been very long, or handling and packaging could have been wrong, or it could have been like, if the pH is off in the system, and basically the shelf life, if they didn't put enough calcium into the plant, or put enough nutrition into the plant, then the shelf life would reduce dramatically. And this is tend to be with any crops. Now, the argument is, if you buy it homegrown and soil grown, it will last longer. That always comes down to nutrition at the end of the day, of how it's been delivered to the plant. Now, it always comes down to that, like, and then it also comes down to handling and packaging, and how they do it, right? Now, if you wet lettuce after you harvest it, and then you try to package it wet, it's going to rot, right? It's not going to last very long, right? Now, when I used to grow lettuce, now as soon as we package it, as soon as we harvest it, which will be early morning, and package it immediately, and we would have storage immediately into the chillers, right? And then after whoever's coming to take it and distribute it out, they would do that. Now, my clientele at the time was, now we supplied, like I said, supermarkets, and also we also supplied gyromen and, wholesalers and everybody like that. Nothing is wrong with the lettuce once it's harvested properly, packaged properly, in the right time, and kept cool. Now, if the lettuce is hot in the sun and then you carry it home afterwards and you see it wilt, and then after melting, it could be a huge problem, So it all comes down to how hydrated is the plant as well too. There's so much variables involved in that. Like I said, I don't do lettuce anymore. I only do seasoning. But I understand this idea with the lettuce. It's so much variables that can cause, like, lettuce could go bad really quickly. So it all comes down to so much variables, and because I know people who have harvest like hydroponic lettuce and that lasts up to a month in the fridge, right? So, and I know hydroponic farmers who supply extra foods, and their lettuce is like, I've never heard a complaint from the people who have bought their lettuce. Never heard a complaint like that before. So it all comes down to so much different variables. It's how you do your business and how they really package it, distribute it, and grow it at the end of the day. I wouldn't say hydroponics is better, but I also wouldn't say, it's worse. It's how they handling it and how it's grown. So if you get it from a farmer, it will always be fresher. It will always last longer, right? If you get it,
Another question for you.
yeah, sure.
Good morning, panel. A question: would you say that the hydroponic system of growing vegetables uses more chemicals than if it is you were to grow in the ground?
No, it actually uses less, way less. I spend way less on chemicals now than before. Actually, I only spend like about $2,000 per month to produce like 10,000 like plants. Like, so it's like real little bit. Like, actually, we produce way more than that, but we use way, and I only use fertilizer now. So it's not like I using other chemicals, right? Now, I am different from everybody else. There's a reason for that. I keep my environment as clean as possible now, right? If you keep the environment clean, you tend to use way less chemicals. And if you have beneficial insects and other things working for you in the environment, you tend to use less chemicals as well. So it all comes down to your environment at the end of the day. If you're killing your environment and you have other things that causing more problems, then you tend to use more chemicals. It all comes down to how clean and sustainable your environment is at the end of the day. That is the only factor that will determine how much chemicals you use.
Sense sanitization of your or sanitation of your fields makes a big difference in how much of the pesticides and so that you have to use. If your fields are bushy and wild, lots of grass all around, then you're going to have to spend more money to keep the places clean. And Toscana is one of the things. There was a sweet potato weevil that was affecting farmers so much. And what would happen is that farmers would see the weevils when they're harvested and just say, well, you know what? I'm just going to leave these sweet potatoes on top here to rot and get back into the soil and then replant in a month or two. But what happened was, instead of removing the affected sweet potatoes out of the field, they would leave it, thereby reintroducing the pest into the soil, and then when they replant, it re-affected them.
Doesn't these things stay dormant for a while too? Isn't that
yeah.
a dormancy period, and then they just spring back out?
Happens.
Yeah.
What they should have done there for sweet potato, this is just from my understanding, right? You could plant something like a crop. Well, it's not really a crop. It's more like a flower. You know what's marigolds or gander?
Yeah.
Right. If you would have planted that right after or intercrop it with the sweet potato, there's something about that particular plant or flower that feeds something into the soil, right? That prevents the weevil from coming in. Now, this is all just from understanding companion planting and you know what plants and what beneficial bugs and bacteria and all these different things that can help your fertility of your soil or environment. If you plant marigolds with that, it will basically prevent all those nematodes and weevils and all those things that are living in the soil, because the marigolds tend to go deep into the soil where it heals the soil a little bit. And then there are other factors too. You can plant like, now a lot of potato farmers, what they tend to do is they tend to do monocropping, which is like they basically plant the same crop over and over and over in the same environment. And they now using chemicals to just treat the problem. But the best way of farming is actually, after you plant the sweet potato, you plant something else that will add back fertility to the soil, or prevent the or break the cycle of whatever pest and disease and bacteria would have grown in that environment that would affect the sweet potato. You stop that immediately with the next crop, which is crop rotation, and you just basically give that some time to fruit or do what it have to do, and then you switch again into sweet potato in the long term. Now, it's not feasible for somebody who is dependent on it, but if you have a large acreage and you could keep doing that, then it will be profitable. And this is what a lot of farmers, I think, don't realize. They always try to only do one crop, but the best solution is doing like a variety of crops. So that way, you don't depend on one income source or one crop. You split up and you slightly diversify your portfolio. And you would say, all right, I'm planting 5 different crops at a time. I do sweet potato. They could do something like peas. They could do something like some flowers. Something that just different variety of crops. So sweet potatoes are root crop. You could do, a vegetable crop like tomatoes, and then you could like a vine crop like tomatoes. Then they could do something short crop like a seasoning or lettuce or something like that. And then something else like a fruit tree or peppers. Switch it up a little bit. So that way you break the cycle of pest and disease growing in that one particular soil and environment. And that is something I encourage all my students to do as well. Even with this business that we're doing, I don't encourage them to just plant save alone. You plant parsley, you plant fine thyme, you plant mint. You switch it up over time, so that way you get the most length of time from your medium and your system, and you don't need to depend on so much pesticides and fungicides and chemicals to really grow a crop. And I think everybody should take that advice and implement that in their business.
Now, as you're coming towards the top of the hour, which brings us more or less to the end of the program, I have a question, which is, what do you think the future of hydroponics will look like for us in the region? I mean, we've gotten it to a certain point, it's being adopted more and more. Do you think it's going to become more and more important with climate change? Do you think we're going to see more youth coming in there? Are we going to see an expansion of the technologies and what people are doing? What's your opinion on it?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to be long-term. Hydroponics is here to stay. Definitely. I don't think anybody could stop this modern day technology, and it will also be more innovative over time as well, because I am already thinking about it. Like, we are living in an age where AI is starting to take over, but eventually robotics is going to be here. So a lot of things are going to change over the next decade, I would say. Like, for the big players at least, who foreseeing and implementing, this tech and innovation into the environment and into the business and into the industry at least, because who says hydroponics is just the end it and be all? It can have so much different variables, because, and this is for the listeners out there, people can look at Dyson Farms, for example. They are the largest sustainable, right? Like modernized robotic farm in the world, right? And if we implement that here in Trinidad, we would surpass a lot of people. And remember, food is here to stay, right? We are all human beings. We would be consuming food for the rest of our lives. So it's not a bad investment to invest in something that will feed you or feed the population. You would benefit from it no matter what you do. So it's here to stay, and hydroponics will only evolve more going further down the line. And for the ones who staying in it, they will benefit from it, and the ones who now get into it, they will see a lot benefits from it as well.
You know, one thing I said I was going to ask you, I saw that you had a post online with something with soil. Something you were doing. What was that?
What, composting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I always encourage all farms and to compost, because I mean, in any farm, no matter what size or how big it is, even a household, right? We all have waste. You have to recycle in some way, right? So I try to make compost, and also as well use like topsoil and merge that, topsoil with compost and with some of the hydroponic medium as well. And you create something new, and you can grow another plant out of it if you understand the compounding effect, and also understand, like, this is an investment, but you want the most out of your investment till you die, basically. You don't ever want to lose. You would invest more into like soil compost and basically your business, because you're trying to maximize your production as much as possible. So you're taking $1 and trying to make it $100. You're trying to grow it into $100 basically, which is very possible, right? If you understand how to invest and what you are doing, because it's all a cycle. Once you understand the growth cycle, you will be successful. But everything has waste. Like, every business has waste in terms of like, but waste management is very important. That is why we do composting, and we incorporate soil in some of the things that we do.
Quite interesting. Chris, this has been such a wonderful conversation, sharing some insight on this method of farming, something we touch on every now and then, but I like your approach to it, and I'm very thankful. Any closing remarks to our listeners, and of course your social media handle, should persons want to get in contact with you?
Right. So for the social media, it's Trini Farmer Chris, or you could follow me, Chris Bisnat. I'm also on Trini Farmers, the Facebook group. Most of my following is there as well. All I want to say is to the listeners, at the end of the day, if there's something you want out of life and you have that vision for it, go after it. Like, don't hold back yourself, especially if it's something that piques your interest and you think you can do it. Go hard at it, believe in yourself, and put the work in. You will get the results at the end of the day. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Chris. So, listeners, this brings us to the end of Agribusiness Innovation. Of course, next week we have another episode of this show. So, Tosca, it's back across to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jody and Mr. Bisnath. Any other questions that you have, we can hold them for next week's show. And coming up, we've got the next hour right here on Freedom 106.5 FM. So stay tuned. Let's talk a whole lot more. Someone tell me more about the Epstein files. So we'll talk about that in the next hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Take care. Bye.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM. 106.5 FM. Your solution for current affairs and all. Join the conversation today as we build a better nation. Insightful discussions and